The reign of Sultan Murad I was marked by significant military conquests that solidified Ottoman control over much of southeastern Europe. Among his most famous military campaigns were the victories over the Serbs, culminating in the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, one of the pivotal moments in Ottoman history. These victories were not just important for their military outcomes, but also for their political and cultural impact on the region, as they helped establish the Ottoman Empire as a dominant power in the Balkans. Murad I ascended to the throne of the Ottoman Empire in 1362, following the death of his father, Orhan I. By the time he took the Sultanate, the Ottomans had already established a strong foothold in Anatolia and the Balkans, thanks to Orhan's military efforts. Murad continued his father's expansionist policies, but his reign marked a significant shift in the empire's military strategy, particularly in relation to the Serbian kingdom. In the early years of Murad's reign, the Ottoman forces began to press further into the Balkans, facing resistance from various regional powers, especially the Serbs, who had been a dominant power in the region. The Serbs, led by Prince Lazar Rebelljanović, were one of the most powerful kingdoms in the Balkans and a significant obstacle to Ottoman expansion. The Ottomans and the Serbs had engaged in several skirmishes before the famous Battle of Kosovo in 1389, where the fate of the Balkans would be decided. Murad's military victories over the Serbs began before Kosovo, starting with smaller campaigns to secure Ottoman control over strategic areas in the Balkans. The capture of Adrianople in 1361 gave the Ottomans a strong foothold in the region, and Murad I continued to expand his territories through a combination of military conquests and diplomatic maneuvers. He secured important victories against various Balkan rulers, including King Vuk Branković of Serbia and other regional powers, weakening their resistance to Ottoman rule. Murad's ability to unify diverse ethnic and religious groups under Ottoman governance allowed him to focus his efforts on more significant military objectives. By 1389, the Ottomans had become the dominant power in the region, and the Battle of Kosovo was poised to be the final confrontation with the Serbs for control of the Balkans. The battle took place near the town of Kosovo Polje, today in Kosovo, and was a decisive conflict between the forces of Sultan Murad I and Prince Lazar Rebelljanović of Serbia. The Serbian forces, which were reinforced by various local allies, had the home advantage, while the Ottoman forces, under Murad I's command, were a disciplined and battle-hardened army that had already proven its strength in previous conflicts. The Battle of Kosovo, though not an outright victory for either side, had lasting consequences for the region. The battle ended in a stalemate, with both Murad and Lazar being killed during the fighting. Murad was assassinated during the battle, allegedly by Miliko Bilic, a Serbian knight who infiltrated the Ottoman camp. Despite the loss of their leader, the Ottomans retained control over the battlefield and continued to hold strategic positions in the Balkans. On the other hand, the Serbian forces, though able to repel the Ottomans in the immediate aftermath of the battle, were significantly weakened and fragmented by the loss of their leader and the damage sustained in the conflict. The death of Prince Lazar marked the collapse of a united Serbian resistance against the Ottomans, and the Ottomans quickly began to consolidate their control over Serbia and the surrounding territories. Following the battle, Murad's son, Bayezid I, would continue the conquest of the Balkans, eventually taking control of the Serbian territories in the years that followed. Kosovo itself, however, remained under Ottoman control for much of the 5th–10th century, and the Ottoman influence in the region continued to grow. While the Battle of Kosovo did not result in a decisive Ottoman victory, it marked the end of the Serbian kingdom as a major power in the Balkans. The Ottomans continued their military campaigns into the 5th–10th century, eventually dominating the region and absorbing much of the former Serbian kingdom into their empire. The victory, or rather the Ottoman retention of Kosovo, paved the way for Ottoman supremacy in southeastern Europe, establishing the Ottoman Empire as the dominant power in the Balkans and setting the stage for centuries of Ottoman rule in the region. In conclusion, Sultan Murad I's military victories over the Serbs, culminating in the Battle of Kosovo, played a key role in the Ottoman Empire's expansion into southeastern Europe. While the battle itself was inconclusive, it had significant long-term consequences for the Serbian kingdom, weakening its ability to resist Ottoman encroachment and contributing to the eventual Ottoman conquest of the Balkans. Murad I's leadership and military strategy established the Ottomans as a formidable power, laying the foundation for future conquests and the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a dominant force in both Europe and the Middle East. The Battle of Kosovo in 1389, while marking the peak of Sultan Murad I's military campaigns in the Balkans, was also a moment that defined the future of the Ottoman Empire. Although the battle itself ended in a stalemate, its consequences were far-reaching, significantly shaping the political landscape of the Balkans and setting the stage for further Ottoman expansion in the region. The Ottomans, despite the loss of their Sultan Murad I, would continue their dominance in the Balkans, which they had already started to secure in the previous decades. In the years leading up to the battle, Sultan Murad I had already established the Ottoman Empire as the dominant power in Anatolia and southeastern Europe. The conquest of Adrianople in 1361 had provided the Ottomans with a key strategic base, allowing them to launch further military campaigns into the Balkans. Murad's ability to strategically weaken regional powers, such as the Serbian kingdom, made the eventual clash in Kosovo almost inevitable. The Ottoman army, under Murad's leadership, had already proven itself superior in several battles in the region. Leading up to Kosovo, Prince Lazar Rebelljanović of Serbia had formed a coalition with other Christian states in the Balkans in an attempt to push back against Ottoman expansion. The Serbian forces, bolstered by local allies, hoped to stop Murad I's seemingly unstoppable advance. The Battle of Kosovo, therefore, was more than just a conflict between two rulers. It was a battle for the survival of the Serbian kingdom and the preservation of Christian power in the Balkans. The battle itself took place on June 28, 1389, and was fiercely contested. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, and while it ended without a decisive victor, the Ottomans retained control over the region. Prince Lazar, though having resisted Murad's forces bravely, was killed in the battle. His death significantly weakened the Serbian position and paved the way for Ottoman influence in the region to grow. One of the most significant aspects of the Battle of Kosovo was the death of Sultan Murad I, who was assassinated during the heat of the conflict by a Serbian noble, Milog Obilic, who is remembered in Serbian folklore as a hero for his daring assassination. The circumstances surrounding Murad's death have been surrounded by myths and legends, but it is widely accepted that his demise did not halt the Ottoman advance in the region. His son, Bayezid I, known as the Thunderbolt, succeeded him and continued the conquest, further cementing Ottoman power in the Balkans. Despite the assassination, the Ottomans retained their hold over the region, and the Battle of Kosovo became a symbol of Ottoman strength and resilience. The victory allowed the Ottomans to strengthen their hold over much of the Balkans, and Kosovo itself would remain under Ottoman control for centuries. While the Serbs managed to regroup in the short term, they were never able to regain their former power in the region. The fall of Kosovo to the Ottomans essentially marked the end of Serbian resistance to Ottoman domination and led to the eventual absorption of the Serbian kingdom into the Ottoman Empire. Following the battle, the Ottomans continued their push into the Balkans, conquering key territories like Bosnia, Albania, and parts of Hungary. The Ottomans also began to incorporate the Janissary Corps, their elite military unit, more thoroughly into their forces, using them to maintain order and ensure the Ottoman presence was deeply rooted in the newly conquered territories. As the Ottomans advanced through the Balkans, they implemented a system of governance that allowed the various regions to maintain a degree of autonomy while still pledging loyalty to the Sultan. The millet system, which gave religious communities control over their internal affairs, was established as a way to manage the empire's diverse population. This system helped the Ottomans integrate conquered territories into the empire, ensuring peace and stability even as the empire expanded. The Battle of Kosovo marked a pivotal moment in Ottoman history. While the Ottomans did not achieve a complete victory on the battlefield, they succeeded in their ultimate goal, securing Ottoman dominance in the Balkans. The battle's aftermath led to the steady march of the Ottoman Empire towards the heart of Europe, and its legacy lasted for centuries. Despite internal challenges and military defeats in later years, the Ottomans never fully lost their hold on the Balkans, and Kosovo remained a key symbol of Ottoman power. In the aftermath of the battle, the Ottomans became a major military and political power, not just in the Balkans but across much of Europe. The Ottoman victory at Kosovo was a clear signal that the empire was now the dominant force in southeastern Europe. The collapse of Serbia and the loss of Christian control over much of the Balkans made the Ottomans the undisputed masters of the region, and their influence would continue to grow throughout the 5th–10th century. The Battle of Kosovo in 1389 and its aftermath were transformative moments in Ottoman history. Despite the absence of a clear victory on the battlefield, the battle marked a crucial step in the Ottoman Empire's consolidation of power in the Balkans and Europe. The death of Sultan Murad I was a tragic loss for the Ottomans, but his son, Bayezid I, would continue his father's legacy and cement Ottoman dominance in the region. While the immediate effects of the battle were far-reaching, the long-term consequences for the Ottoman Empire were even more profound, leading to the empire's eventual expansion across southeastern Europe. In the immediate aftermath of the Battle of Kosovo, Bayezid I ascended to the throne. His succession was a pivotal moment for the empire, as the death of Sultan Murad I threatened to destabilize the Ottomans in the midst of a critical expansion phase. However, Bayezid, who would later earn the title Yildirim, proved himself to be an able military leader. His swift action and decision-making following Murad's death helped maintain Ottoman control over Kosovo and the surrounding regions. Bayezid's response to the Serbian defeat was a combination of military pressure and diplomacy. Despite the challenges, he was able to stabilize the empire's territorial gains and continue his father's expansion into the Balkans. The death of Prince Lazar Rebelljanović and the weakening of the Serbian kingdom in the aftermath of the battle marked the beginning of Ottoman territorial dominance in the region. Serbia, already exhausted by the battle, faced internal fragmentation, which further enabled the Ottomans to seize strategic cities and fortresses across the Balkans. Bayezid continued his father's policies of expanding Ottoman influence through both military conquest and diplomatic alliances. His aggressive military campaigns, coupled with his ability to establish loyal local rulers, helped him consolidate control over much of the Balkans. The Ottoman Empire was now poised to expand further into Hungary, Bosnia, and Albania, effectively extending its influence over the entire southeastern region of Europe. The Battle of Kosovo and the subsequent Ottoman consolidation of power also had significant cultural and administrative implications. The Ottomans' growing influence in the Balkans meant that the empire began to incorporate its distinct administrative and military structures into the conquered territories. The millet system, which granted religious communities autonomy to govern their own affairs, played a key role in ensuring stability in the empire. This policy of religious tolerance allowed the Christian and Jewish populations in the Balkans to continue practicing their faiths while remaining loyal to the Sultan. Culturally, the Ottomans also began to spread their influence throughout the region. With the establishment of Ottoman rule in Kosovo and its surrounding territories, the Ottomans began constructing mosques, madrasas, and other Islamic institutions, further embedding Islamic culture within the Balkans. Over time, this led to the gradual Islamization of the region as the Ottomans continued to establish a strong cultural and religious presence. By the time of Bayezid I's reign, the Ottomans had achieved military superiority in the region, and the Balkans were firmly under Ottoman control. The Battle of Kosovo had not only weakened the Serbian resistance, but had also established the Ottomans as the dominant force in the Balkans. The Ottoman military victories and strategic territorial expansions laid the foundation for future Ottoman dominance in Europe, eventually leading to the conquest of Constantinople in 1453 and the rise of the Ottoman Empire as a world superpower. In conclusion, the Battle of Kosovo in 1389, though not a clear Ottoman victory on the battlefield, marked the beginning of a new era for the Ottoman Empire. Despite Murad I's tragic death, the Ottomans were able to maintain their hold on Kosovo and the surrounding regions. The rise of Bayezid I ensured the continuation of Ottoman expansion, and the Balkans became firmly entrenched within the Ottoman sphere of influence. The legacy of the battle and the subsequent Ottoman victories laid the groundwork for an empire that would dominate much of southeastern Europe, Asia, and North Africa for centuries to come.